Think fast! Who's the oldest tennis player that you know? Well, whoever you have in mind, I can bet that it's nothing compared to this grandpa over here. Crazy, right? These are the oldest players in tennis history. Number 10. Roger Federer. Oldest age while still active? 41. And we gotta start with Roger Federer, because the Swiss legend is not just one of the best tennis players to ever walk the earth. He's also one of the oldest active players in the history of tennis. You see, like most tennis players, Roger picked up a racket when he was just a kid, and has never let it go ever since, even after his official retirement in 2022. Throughout his 24-year career, the Swiss tennis player racked up a total of 20 Grand Slams, 103 career singles titles, 8 Wimbledon titles, as well as 5 consecutive US Open titles. And that's just to mention a few. He also spent a total of 237 consecutive weeks as the #1 ranked tennis player in the world. That's almost 5 years of being the top dog in tennis. Now, that's some next-level GOAT energy right there. So it's no surprise that, even at the age of 41, Roger is currently the highest-paid tennis player and one of the highest-paid athletes in the world. Well, this next guy might not have won as many titles as the Swiss maestro, but at least he played long enough to make it to this list. Number 9. Tako Suzuki. Oldest age while active? 42. Just like Federer, Suzuki started playing tennis as a toddler, but it wasn't until 1995 that he actually kicked off his professional career as a tennis player. During his career, Suzuki primarily focused on playing doubles and had considerable success in that discipline. While Suzuki did make it into the top 100 in international ranking, he was ranked #1 in his home country of Japan. Back in 2017, he also became the first player in their 40s to make it to the final of an ITF Pro Circuit event. And as if that wasn't enough, this dude holds the record for the most Davis Cup wins for Japan. Who says age slows you down? Suzuki was out there on the court defying the laws of time and gravity. But you know who else was defying the laws of time in their 40s? This guy. Number 8. Jimmy Connors. Oldest age while still active? 44. Back in the 70s, men's tennis was desperately searching for its knight in shining armor. You know, someone that had what it takes to dominate the tennis world. Because players at the time were doing a horrible job at breaking and setting records. But everything changed when a young, tenacious American player burst onto the scene, armed with a powerful playing style. That guy was Jimmy Connors. And trust me, he was not just your average tennis player. He was the GOAT of his time. Connors snatched up a total of 8 Grand Slam titles throughout his career and held the #1 spot for a total of 268 weeks. He also bagged 109 career titles, 1,557 matches played, and 1,274 match wins. 3 records that remain unbroken until this very day. And even after retiring at the age of 44, Connors still expresses how his love for tennis has never truly faded away. And you could say the same thing for the next guy on our list. Number 7. Ken Rosewall. Oldest age while still active? 46. You see, when it comes to tennis legends, you simply can't leave out Rosewall. Today, the Australian is not just remembered for his perfect backhand and his on-court agility. He was also very famous for setting the standard for enduring excellence in the men's game. So much so that he was nicknamed Muscle due to how strong his presence was on court, despite his tiny stature. Throughout his career, Rosewall won a total of 23 Grand Slam titles, including 8 in singles, 6 in doubles, and 9 in mixed doubles. After winning the 1972 Australian Open at the age of 37, the Australian became the oldest player to win a Grand Slam singles title in the Open era. A record that still stands to this very day. But what's even more impressive is that Rosewall is one of the few players to win slams in 3 different decades. Rosewall's longevity was out of this world. And it's not just because he was ranked #1 for over 3 years. The Australian was also able to secure a spot in the top 20 for a jaw-dropping 25 consecutive years. At an age when most players are several years into retirement, or at the very least at the tail end of their careers, he was still winning major singles titles. Now that's what you call legendary. But certainly not as legendary as... Number 6. John McEnroe. Oldest age while still active? 46. McEnroe is the only male player in tennis history to hold the world #1 ranking in both singles and doubles at the same time. That's just how good the guy was. McEnroe's playing style was pure magic. His reflexes were quicker than a startled cat, and his touch at the net was so delicate it could make a ball weep tears of joy. But if we're being honest, the real reason McEnroe became a household name was his on-court behavior. The American was not just a pro on the court. He was also a pro when it came to taking tantrums to a whole new level. He was known for his outbursts and confrontations with umpires like it was his full-time job. The man could turn a routine line call into a Shakespearean drama, complete with dramatic pauses and an epic meltdown. But despite his explosive temper, McEnroe's talent was off the charts. He snagged a grand total of 7 Grand Slam singles titles throughout his career, including 3 Wimbledon championships and 4 US Open titles. Even after hanging up his racket at the ripe old age of 47, McEnroe is still a very prominent figure in the tennis world, as he now has a successful career as a tennis commentator and analyst. Talk about a jack of all trades. You see, up until now, we've been talking about men's tennis. But if there's one woman that stood the test of time, it's number 5, Kimiko Date. Oldest age while active? 46. Date turned pro in 1989, and in just 2 years, she reached her first Grand Slam quarterfinal at the Australian Open in 1990. Date was known for her strong baseline game and powerful ground strokes. She also had an impressive combination of speed, agility, and a very impressive backhand that effortlessly made her opponents shake in their boots. Her breakthrough year came in 1994, when she reached the semifinals of both the Australian Open and Wimbledon, climbing to a career-high ranking of number 4 in the world. But you see, fame and success came at a cost, and unfortunately, it was too much for Kimiko to bear. So much so that she found herself grappling with burnout, so she ended up announcing her retirement in 1996. Then, in a remarkable turn of events, she made a comeback to professional tennis in 2008, defying expectations and showcasing her enduring love for the game. Date's final tournament was at the 2007 Japan Women's Open, which took place just before her 47th birthday. But Date isn't the only woman in tennis that stood the test of time. I mean, Billie Jean didn't hang the racket up until she was 47 years old. Number 4. Billie Jean King. Oldest age while active? 47. Born on November 22, 1943 in Long Beach, California, USA, King's accomplishments on and off the court have solidified her status as one of the most influential sports personalities of all time. During her playing career, King won a total of 39 Grand Slam titles, 12 in singles, 16 in women's doubles, and 11 in mixed doubles. Now, if we're being real, her biggest achievement has to be the Battle of the Sexes match against Bobby Riggs. You see, back in the 70s, the tennis world was intoxicated with male superiority, with a lot of male players like Riggs believing that women could never match up to the men on the court. And what better way to kill that narrative than to actually take him back to school? Billie trashed Riggs 6-4, 6-3, 6-3. That victory wasn't just a win for King, it was a slam dunk moment for women's sports. After a very successful tennis career, Billie decided to hang her racket up at the age of 47 and focused on being an advocate for education and social justice. And just like King, our next athlete also hung up their racket at 47. Number 3. Younes El Annouei. Oldest age while still active, 47. Born on September 12, 1971 in Rabat, El Annouei showed promise from an early age. And despite facing financial obstacles and limited resources, he practiced on local courts until he finally made it to the big stage. His breakthrough came in 2003 at the Australian Open, where he went head-to-head with the rising star Andy Roddick in one of the most epic 5-set quarterfinal matches in tennis history. After retiring from professional tennis at the age of 47 in 2010, El Anouilh dedicated himself to philanthropy and giving back to the sport. Even at 47, El Anouilh is still not the oldest tennis player in the world. Number 2. Martina Navratilova. Oldest age while still active? 49. Now, Martina isn't just one of the oldest players in tennis history. She's also one of the most legendary players of all time. The Czech had an exceptional combination of athleticism, versatility, and aggressive approach to the game. Over her career, Martina won a total of 18 Grand Slam singles titles and 31 Grand Slam doubles titles, including 4 US Open titles, 3 Australian Open titles, 2 French Open titles in singles, and 8 Wimbledon titles. A record that still stands in both men and women tennis till this very day. After having a very illustrious career that spanned several decades, she officially retired from professional tennis at the age of 49 in 2006. And now that we're down to number 1, we have to talk about this lady that played tennis even in her 70s. Number 1. Gail Falkenburg. Oldest age while still active? 71. Although she only plays at the lower levels of the pro tennis circuit, Gail Falkenburg is the oldest tennis player in the world. Back in 2016, Gail took the world by storm when she won a professional tennis match at the ripe age of 69. She showed no mercy, defeating Rosalind Small in the qualification of ITF Pelham and then faced off against Taylor Townsend, who was once the number 1 junior in the world. That's kinda like David taking on Goliath, but with more tennis balls and fewer slingshots. Gail officially retired at the age of 71, after playing tennis for over 6 long decades. So there you have it, folks. It turns out that, in the game of tennis, age is just a number. Let us know in the comments which one is your favorite story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to learn more interesting things about your favorite tennis players.